Mike, let me ask you a question about the Alaskan Way Viaduct. You know, you've been very clear in your opposition to the plan to build a bored tunnel to replace the viaduct. But there was, you know, this back and forth in Crosscut as to what specific steps you might take if you were elected to city council and the bored tunnel were still around. So I wanted to ask a hypothetical.
Sure.
If, you know, let's assume that the mayor is a person who supports a bored tunnel, and that mayor puts before the council a package of, you know, taxes, whether it be it a new transportation benefit district that's dedicated to that project, utility rate increases to pay for relocating utility lines, and so on and so forth. You know, that the raising of that $930 million of city taxes and fees. You know, Mike O'Brien, city council member, what do you do?
I fight it. You know, the question is, it's not an investment taking us in the direction that we need to be going. You know, when I want to make Seattle economically viable, I want to make sure that, you know, with gas prices going up and carbon restrictions coming, that we're investing in a mobility structure for our city that is going to be compatible with the 2020s and the 2030s. And if we spend all of our last pennies on a very small tunnel, that is a problem. And so when we're raising taxes to pay for that, I'm not interested in supporting that. You know, I guess I would support putting that out to the public, and then I would go do what I've done before and go tell the public why I think they should vote no on it. You know, what I suspect happens is they put together a package that mixes a little bit of everything and try to please a little bit of everybody. And throw a little streetcar line in there and something over there, and the stuff that we don't like they'll cover in some pool of money that they shift so that we don't actually have to vote on it. And I think that kind of, frankly, cynicism of how the voters treat this stuff is just absurd. You know, we as voters constantly get put in a little box and say, here are your choices, here are your options. And if we choose to stay in that box, we look around and it's like, well, there's some pretty bad options, and I guess this is the least offensive, and I'll take that. But I don't think we have to stay in that box. I mean, that's what we saw with RTID, is they put us in a box, and we said, we don't like that box. We want a different box. We want to see all the options. And I'm sure that they will try something similar on the tunnel. I mean, they're already trying it in the way they've shuffled the state and the county and the city money. And it's just not acceptable. And I think that they need to be, whoever they are, you know, as the governor and the mayor and whoever's behind them, need to be called out and say, look, you guys, I know you share my values on things like climate change. This is completely inconsistent with that, and you know it. And so quit playing games with this, and let's figure out what are the investments we really want. The thing that's really frustrating to me is that when these big shiny projects come along, like the tunnel, it's amazing that the hoops our leadership can jump through, and the resources they can find, and the new taxing authority that didn't exist before, but all of a sudden they dust off, and the shuffling of funds so that they can piece together every last penny to get the $4 billion. But when we're talking about completing sidewalks up north for the last 30 years, the answer is just, well, we just don't have money for it. And it's like no one jumps through. When we're laying off 170 teachers, well, education's our priority, it's really important, but we just don't have money for it. It's like, you know, I want to see the energy that you guys put into the tunnel, put that into teaching, put that into our sidewalks, put that into keeping Metro fully funded. And then, if I can see you put that energy into things that I think that people really care about, and there's still some energy left and you want to start talking about the tunnel, I'll sit down with you. But until then, you know what, it's just disingenuous to pretend that you care about the other things, there's just not money for it, yet you can work magic to make billions of dollars appear out of nowhere. I don't think the public buys that. And I think we could use some leadership in this town telling the public that there's an alternative.
So let's say you're city council member and we have leadership and we're definitely doing the tunnel. Mm-hmm. What would you do in that situation to ensure that we get the best deal considering?
Well, okay, see the things I care about. Cost overruns. It's a little bit, if the state pays the cost overruns, hey, I live in the state, that's me. If the county pays the cost overruns, hey, I pay in the county, that's me. The city, I mean, one way or another, you know, what, 9 out of 10 of these mega projects end up with cost overruns, and considering this is the biggest deep bore tunnel of its kind in the world, I would bet that there would be cost overruns, especially since they haven't designed it yet. So, I don't know, how do you protect against that? I don't know who's sure who we're going to pay for it. I mean, I don't know how you protect. So I figured out, try to protect people from that. Make sure we get some of the investments. I mean, one of the problems with that is right now, 60% of the viaduct traffic uses the downtown exits, which are going to all be eliminated in the tunnel. So that $4 billion project is going to only service about 40% of the existing traffic. The other 60% needs to be handled some other way, which means investments in things like transit, bike ped improvements, better surface street design. So, I'd fight for money for that. The problem is that we start, what do? We're raising the taxes on top of the taxes for the tunnel to get the improvements that we really need. We're starting to make the city less affordable. It's a tough place, but I guess I would do my best, and I would look for revenue sources probably again from things like tolling, car cabs, the stuff where I say, look, we're going to create a system so you don't need to own a car, or one fewer car, and we'll provide a really good system that works for you. But it's going to be tough when I suspect a lot of our money is going to be tied up for a very long time in something that we're probably going to say, oops, I didn't need that. So.
That's all the questions I have. Anyone else?
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.